Hi everybody, welcome to another literacy lesson. So, I'm sure it won't be a surprise to you. I need you to get yourself a pen or pencil and some paper or a whiteboard, whatever you use to do your work on. Make sure you've got that ready for our vocab blast. Okay, as you can see, it is the same words that we have looked at already yesterday. So, we're going to start off by seeing if we can remember what those words are. I've left the pictures on and I've left the definitions on to help you. Let's start with this one. I've got a man here with a magnifying glass. He is looking for something. The definition of this word is find. What is that word? Can you remember? If you know it, shout it out. Brilliant, well done. It's discover. Discover, it means find, and that's why I've got a little man with a magnifying glass looking for something. So if you discover something, you find something. Okay, next one, I have got a picture of a hook, and the definition is curved like a hook. If you remember what this word is, shout it out now. Amazing, it's hooked. That's a nice easy one, hooked. So hooked, remember we were talking about it, it's a description. It's telling us how something might look. It might look hooked. So it's curved like a hook. Let's move on to this next word. I've got a clock, looking backwards. And the definition for this word is not long ago. If you can remember what that word is, shout it out now. Amazing, it's recently. Something that happened recently happened not a very long time ago. And this one here, we've got a man, we can't see his face. He's hidden. The definition of this word is difficult to identify. That word is mysterious. Well done if you remembered that one, mysterious. So someone that's difficult to identify or something that's difficult to identify. And our last one, we've got our dodo bird here, which we looked at briefly in the last lesson. We've got our dodo bird. And the definition of this word is no longer exists. What is this word going to be? Let's see if you can remember. It's extinct. Well done if you remembered that one. So extinct, and that's why we've got the picture of the dodo bird, because it's extinct. It is no longer in existence on our planet. It's not here anymore. It used to live a very long time ago, but it doesn't now, and that's what extinct means, no longer here. Okay, now that we have run through what each of these words means, I have got some sentences, and we're going to figure out which words we could put in these sentences. It's up to you. If you want to pause it because you're feeling really confident about doing this yourself, then you can write these sentences out and put the words in the right places. If you're feeling a little bit less confident, then you can keep listening to me and we'll talk about them one at a time. Okay, so this first sentence says, I would like to a treasure map. I would like to a treasure map. What word could I put here? I would like to a treasure map. Well, let's have a look, shall we? If I put extinct in there, is this sentence going to make sense? I would like to extinct a treasure map. Does that make sense? No, that would be a very silly sentence. We can't talk about a treasure map not existing anymore. It wasn't alive to start with, so that one wouldn't make sense. We're looking for a word, that would make sense in this sentence. I would like to discover a treasure map. Oh, that one sounds really good. Let's put that one in there. I would like to discover a treasure map. Well done if you got that one right. Let's look at the next one. The dodo bird is it extinct? Is it hooked? Is it recently? Ugh, no. Is it mysterious? The dodo bird is, I think it could be a couple of different ones for that. What do you think? Fantastic, it's extinct. The dodo bird is extinct. Professor Snape has a nose. What kind of nose does Professor Snape have? Was it a hooked nose? Was it a recently nose? Oh dear, that doesn't sound very good at all. Was it a mysterious nose? What do you think? Again, I think there are two that could go in here. Hooked. Professor Snape has a hooked nose. Well done if you got that right, but you could have also had mysterious. If you put mysterious, that's okay, you could put that one too. Sam saw a house that was very recently or mysterious. Mysterious, well done. And the last one. Recently, I was given some new shoes. If you have written these sentences down, please make sure that you have got a capital letter here. Okay, because it's at the start of our sentence. Fantastic, well done, guys. Okay, now that we've done our vocab blast, we are going to move on to today's learning, and I would like you to think back. A long time ago when we did Sydney, Stella and the Moon, we were learning about subheadings, and we got all of those lovely books from the library, and we had a hunt through them to find the subheadings and some other features of a non-fiction text. We are looking at subheadings again today. So subheadings are used to organise information in a non-fiction text. They are something for a section of information. I wonder, thinking back to when we did it in Sydney, Stella and the Moon, what did we say a subheading was like? We've got our title here at the top, that's a clue, and then we've got our subheadings. What are they like? They are like mini titles. Well done if you remember that. They're like mini titles. They tell us about the information in this paragraph so that we can quickly look through to see where we need to read to find out what we want to know. So if I wanted to know how big Arctic foxes grow to be, I can straight away read my subheadings to help me find that information. So what are some of the Arctic foxes adaptations? Well, that's not going to tell me about how big foxes are. What do Arctic foxes eat? That's definitely not going to tell me about how big Arctic foxes are. And then this last one says, how big are Arctic foxes? So that one is going to tell me about how big they are. The information in the paragraph links to the subheading. It's like a mini title. It's telling us about what's going to be talked about in that paragraph. If I wanted to write a non-fiction text about the dodo bird, I might use these subheadings. What do they look like? Where are they from? Why are they extinct? What I would like you to do now is I would like you to have a think about a piece of information that you could write under each of these subheadings. So let's start with the first one. What do they look like? What do we know about how a dodo bird looks? What could we write underneath that subheading? Super quick, write it down on the piece of paper or whiteboard that you've got in front of you. What do they look like? What could we write in this section? Okay, you might have written something like, they have hooked noses, they were grey, they looked like turkeys. Anything like that would fit perfectly under this subheading. Well done if you got that right. Where are they from? What could we write in this subheading? Again, super quick as you can, pause the video and write me one thing that you could write about in here. Where are they from? I wonder if anybody can remember. Where are they from? Okay, where are they from? You might write something like they are from Mauritius, which was the island that they came from. And the last subheading, why are they extinct? Why are they extinct? What could you write underneath this subheading? What can you remember from yesterday's lesson that could go under this subheading? So you might have written something like, they could be extinct because humans hunted them. Because as it said in that text that we read yesterday, the dodos were very brave and they used to go up to humans all the time, and the humans might have killed them because they were being attacked by the dodos. Okie dokie. Okay, so our next activity that we're going to be doing is organising these bits of information into the right subheading. So I'm going to read it and I want you to decide if that sentence talks about what the dodo looked like, where they were from, or why they have become extinct. Okay, so you can just shout out which of those subheadings you think this sentence matches. They had a hooked beak. Does that tell me what they looked like, where they were from, or why they are extinct? Amazing, it tells me what they looked like. They had a hooked beak. Let's look at this next one. The island was rich with fruit and nuts for dodos to eat. Does that tell me about what they looked like? Does that tell me about the place they were from? Or does that tell me why they are extinct? Fantastic. It's telling me about the place that they are from. Even though it doesn't tell me the exact place that they came from, it mentions that island and tells me a bit of information about it. It's telling me some information about the place they were from, and that's why we would put it under that subheading. Dodos could only lay one egg once a year, so they could only have one egg in a whole year. So that is not a lot of baby dodos running around, just one once a year. Okay. Does that tell me about what they looked like? Does that tell me about where they're from? Or does that give me a reason for why they are extinct? Brilliant, it tells me a reason for why they are extinct. Well done if you got that one, because that one is quite tricky. If they only have one egg once a year, then there weren't a lot of dodos, and that could be one of the reasons why they were extinct. Next one. Dodos had grey feathers. Does that tell me what they looked like, where they're from, or why they're extinct? Shout it out now. Amazing. What they looked like. It's telling us about something that they had. They had grey feathers. They had a hooked beak. It's what they looked like. Dodos were hunted and eaten by sailors passing by the island. So the dodos were getting eaten. Oh no. Does that tell me what they look like, where they're from, or a reason for why they might be extinct now? Fantastic, that's another reason for why they are extinct. If the sailors that were passing by were hunting the dodos and killing them, then that would explain why there might not be any now. Dodos lived on the island of Mauritius. Is that what they look like, where they're from, or why they're extinct? It's where they're from. Fantastic. It's telling us what that island was called. Dodos had no natural predators on the island, so they didn't have other animals on the island that were eating them. Does that tell me what they looked like, where they're from, or why they are extinct? Fantastic, that's telling us more information about that island. So that's telling us about where they were from. They all have that word island in. They're telling us about where the dodos are from. Two left. They were larger than turkeys. Is that what they look like, where they're from, or why they're extinct? It's what they look like. Fantastic. And the last one. Dodos were very trusting of humans. Is that what they looked like, where they're from, or why they're extinct? Brilliant. It's about why they are extinct. If the dodos were very trusting of humans, they did not expect them to start eating them just like the sailors did. They were not difficult to hunt because they were so trusting of humans, so they were easy to capture. Fantastic, everybody. Well done. And this next activity is a little bit trickier because we need to think about what the subheading could be based on the information. So what we're going to do is we're going to read this, and I'm going to show you how we pick out the key information in the paragraph to find a subheading that would be appropriate for that paragraph. So we're going to look for the key bits of information. If you think you would like to write down these words whilst we're talking about them to help you spot that key information, you can do that whilst I'm reading through it. So, polar bears. Polar bears are carnivores. They mainly eat seals, although small land animals, carcasses of marine mammals and reindeer, and berries also form part of their diet. They are at the top of their food chain. I'm going to read it again. I've read it through once to get an idea of what it's talking about. I'm going to read it through again, and I'm going to highlight the key information. Polar bears are carnivores. They mainly eat seals, etc. Berries also form part of their diet. They are at the top of their food chain. What is this telling me about polar bears? I've highlighted carnivores, I've highlighted eating, I've highlighted diet, I've highlighted food chain. What does that tell me about the polar bears? It tells me about the things that they eat, doesn't it? It tells me about their diet, the stuff that they're eating. So what could I call this paragraph? I might want to word it as a question, just like we've had in the last slide where we were talking about the dodos. What do they look like? Where are they from? Why are they extinct? What food do they eat? Question mark. Can you see how I have made sure that my subheading has food in it, that key word, and eat in it? It's telling me that this paragraph is going to talk about the food that the polar bears eat. What food do they eat? And every bit of information in that paragraph talks about what polar bears eat. It's telling me that they are carnivores. It's telling me that the animals that they eat. It's telling me other things that they ate that were part of their diet. It's telling me about their food chain. It's all about things that they eat. Now, I know this is really tough, so we're going to keep working through it together. Okay. If you're feeling really, really confident with this, you can listen to me read the paragraph, pause it, and then decide what your subheading is going to be. You might want to write down that key information whilst I am reading. Okay, if you're feeling a little bit less confident, we're going to go through it together. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to read it, and I'll let you know when you can pause it if you want to try this on your own. Home for polar bears is on the sea ice, where they hunt seals at open lands. Polar bears are found in 5 nations across the Arctic: the US, Canada, Russia, Greenland, and Norway. Okay, if you want to do this independently, you can pause the video now. If you're listening to me, then we're going to talk through it together. I'm going to read it again and highlight the key information. Home for polar bears is on the sea ice, where they hunt seals at open land. Polar bears are found in 5 nations across the Arctic: the US, Canada, Russia, Greenland, and Norway. All of these areas are listed. What am I talking about? Home for polar bears is on the sea ice. What am I talking about? Fantastic. I am talking about where polar bears live. I have said that their home is on the sea ice. I have said where they hunt their food. I have said the 5 places that they are found where they live. So I'm talking about where they live. So now that I know that I'm talking about where they live, I need to write that as a question. So I'm going to have my question word first and then my question mark at the end. If you think you know how to put where they live into a question, write it down on your piece of paper now. Fantastic. So where do they live? That is a good subheading for this section because it's asking that question of where we can find polar bears, and then the paragraph tells us about where those polar bears live, where their homes are. And the last one, I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to read it out, and if you feel like you're confident enough to do this on your own, then you can pause the video and do it on your own. If you're wanting a little bit of help whilst we're doing it, then you can keep listening and we'll work through it together. Polar bear fur is so thick it prevents almost all heat loss. In fact, adult males can quickly overheat when they run. Surprisingly, the fur isn't actually white, it just looks that way. Each hair shaft is clear, so it reflects off the snow and looks white. Pause the video now if you want to try this on your own. Okay, I'm going to read through it again and I'm going to highlight that key information, what this paragraph is telling us about. Okay, you can write the words down whilst we're reading if you want to. Polar bear fur is so thick it prevents almost all heat loss. In fact, adult males can quickly overheat when they run. Surprisingly, the fur isn't actually white, it just looks that way. Each hair shaft is clear, so it reflects off the snow and looks white. Can you see how we've repeated fur twice in this paragraph, and then we've talked about a polar bear's hair as well? Hair and fur are the same thing, so we're talking about what in this paragraph? What are we talking about? Fantastic, we are talking about polar bear fur. We are talking about what polar bear fur is like. I would like you to write a question, don't forget your question word and your question mark at the end, that we could use as a subheading for this paragraph. It needs to help us tell what that polar bear fur is like. What polar bear fur is like. How could we write that as a question? What do we want to know? Pause the video and write your question down. And you might have a question that's like this. What is polar bear fur like? Because our paragraph tells us about polar bear fur. Fantastic. Well done, Year 2. Okay, now that we've gone through those activities and you've listened to me talk for a very long time, I'm going to give you today's challenges. So, today's 1-star challenge, we have got these subheadings: food, habitat or homes, and how they look. Okay, and I've got some information about different animals. Okay, about those polar bears that we've already talked about. So, what I need you to do is you're going to read the sentences, and if you've got access to a printer, you can print this out and cut them out, and you can stick them in the right places. If you don't have access to a printer, that's okay, because you can just write them in the right places. So, they eat meat. Where would that go? Does that tell us about their food? Does it tell us about their home? Or does it tell us about how polar bears look? Where would that go? They eat meat. Where would that go? Fantastic, that would go in food because it's telling us about what they eat. So you're going to read those and put them in the right places. Today's 2-star challenge is very similar, okay? You've got 3 subheadings: diet, habitat and appearance. Diet is their food, habitat is their home, and appearance is how they look. And you've got these sentences. You're going to read the sentences about polar bears and decide which subheading they need to go under. You can cut them all out, put the subheadings at the top, and then put these underneath the right ones. Polar bears live in the Arctic where the climate is cold and icy. Is that telling me about their diet, their food? Is that telling me about their habitat, their home? Or is that telling me about their appearance, how they look? Fantastic. Polar bears live in the Arctic is telling me about their home. Okay, so you would cut that one out and put it underneath habitat. If you finish that and you're feeling really confident and feel like you understand what subheadings are and what we're doing, then you can read these paragraphs and make a subheading to match. Okay? And those are today's activities. Remember, you can rewind this video to any point and listen to me talking again about those subheadings. Okay? All of the worksheets are on the Byron Wood Academy website in the home learning section. And I am really looking forward to seeing all of that work that you're going to have emailed to the class email address. Thank you for watching. Bye, everybody.